Blessings! Appointed Times Ministry welcomes you. We want you to join us as we unveil Bible prophecy through current world events. Jesus warned how the world would look before he returned. He warned that chaos, destruction, insecurity, and peril would become the new norm. Everything in the world seems to be falling apart. But in reality, it's that everything's falling right into place. The times and the seasons are ripe for the gathering of believers. Jesus is coming soon for his bride. We must stand firm in the faith so that when he returns, he can find us dressed and in our right mind ready to meet him. Jesus said, "And you will hear of wars and threats of wars. But don't panic. Yes, these things must take place, but the end won't follow immediately. Nation will go to war against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in many parts of the world. But all this is only the first of the birth pains, with more to come."
Arms depots hit in southern Lebanon and deeper inside the country. Secondary explosions followed the initial Israeli strikes that are believed to have destroyed weapons warehouses belonging to Hezbollah.
Israel is using this period to try and degrade Hezbollah's capacities to the extent that it can, both in terms of taking out members of Hezbollah, whether high-level commanders or officers, through targeted attacks, but at the same time, they're also degrading their weapons capacities.
There's been a threat of a wider conflict after 10 months of fighting that's been in parallel with the war on Gaza. Hezbollah has said its attacks are part of efforts to reduce pressure on the Strip by diverting Israel's military resources. But Israel has been acting with little restraint.
So far, notwithstanding Hezbollah's videos and propaganda and speeches and words, its actions haven't managed to deter Israel's attacks on Lebanon. Israel has demonstrated greater intelligence capacity in finding targets and in achieving results with those targets.
Almost daily, there's a targeted strike on a car or a motorcycle, killing a member of Hezbollah. And they are happening kilometers from the border. In its messaging to Israel, Hezbollah has tried to re-establish deterrence by showing its military capabilities. And while there is little doubt Hezbollah can inflict damage on Israel, it has been sticking to the unwritten rules of engagement, where both sides avoid targeting population centers. Hezbollah has accused Israel of crossing red lines by targeting Beirut and killing civilians, and it has promised to retaliate. But that could lead to an Israeli counterattack, and in the absence of a ceasefire deal in Gaza, this conflict could be heading towards an escalation.
2 Timothy 3 verses 1 through 5 says, "Remember this, there are some terrible times coming in the last days. People will love only themselves and money. They will be proud and boast about themselves. They will abuse others with insults. They will not obey their parents. They will be ungrateful and against all that is pleasing to God. They will have no love for others and will refuse to forgive anyone. They will talk about others to hurt them and will have no self-control. They will be cruel and hate what is good. People will turn against their friends. They will do foolish things without thinking and will be so proud of themselves. Instead of loving God, they will love pleasure. They will go on pretending to be devoted to God, but they will refuse to let that devotion change the way they live. Stay away from these people."
It's a nightmare at a quiet neighborhood park. Cops say this kidnapper grabs a 7-year-old off her bike. Then he carries her to his car and throws her in.
The girl's aunt immediately went into warrior mode. She ran after the suspect, dove through the window of the driver's side of his car, and wrestled with the suspect as he tried to drive off with the youngster.
A Good Samaritan saw the abduction and pulled in front of the car, blocking the accused kidnapper's getaway. Then he hauls him out of the car until the cops get there.
He was like an angel. He'd get out of the car, get out of the car, get out right now.
I spoke to the little girl's hero aunt, Alicia Swikowski, who was injured in the struggle.
When I hear that story, it just sounds terrifying.
It was literally my worst nightmare, and it just keeps replaying in my head over and over and over again. That's all I could think about was getting her out of that car.
Scott Van Leuven is the Good Samaritan who blocked the getaway car.
I honestly don't even want to know what could have happened. He could have gotten away very easily.
The 23-year-old suspect was identified as Endi Bala. Court records show he has a history of prior arrests. Get this, just an hour before allegedly snatching the 7-year-old, cops say he also tried to grab a 15-year-old girl. That kidnap was also foiled by a Good Samaritan. Good neighbors who risked it all when it really mattered.
Bala, who has pled not guilty, has been ordered to undergo a mental health evaluation.
For parents with kids heading back to school. 2 attempted kidnappings in Texas were caught on cameras. Eva Pilgrim is here now with the frightening footage of what parents can do to try to help keep their kids safe. Good morning, Eva.
Good morning, Lindsay. I'm sure this is something you feel. This is something we as parents can't help but worry about. Someone taking our kids. And safety experts say this time of year, with kids going back to school, walking or waiting at bus stops, it's important to have a conversation with your children about what to do just in case. This morning, as kids across the country head back to school, a warning for parents everywhere.
Get your mom, get your mom, get your mom. I heard screaming and I thought, and I could hear commotion outside.
You see in this door camera video, first obtained by ABC affiliate WFAA, the moment apparent kidnappers tried to take a group of 9-year-old boys. Gina Skolnick, the mother of 2 of the boys, telling us her kids were having a play date at her house when 2 vehicles pulled up near them. Her son Zachary sounding the alarm.
So we get onto the sidewalk and we try to skip past, and I hear the drivers telling my friends to get into their car.
The boys taking off, running and screaming.
I was the first one at the door screaming, someone's trying to kidnap us. Someone's trying to kidnap me!
Moments later, you see someone in a white t-shirt and shorts get out of a white SUV, running after her son Jonathan. Jonathan says the man was calling to him, trying to lure him into the SUV.
He said, there's a football player in the back of the car. And then he said, get in the back of the car. And I said, I'm sorry, I looked up the strangers, and I ran away.
The suspect noticing Skolnick with a cell phone camera in her hand, leaving the scene, but not before she was able to get a picture of the license plate. And just miles away earlier that morning, another near kidnapping caught on camera. In this security video, you see a teenage girl hiding behind a neighbor's car, trying to avoid being taken by a man. That car belongs to Shane Burke, who says the teenager came to his door for help.
She said that somebody that she didn't know had been following her, kind of gawking at her, staring at her, making her feel uncomfortable. She was extremely shook up.
Experts encouraging parents to talk to their kids about safety as a new school year begins.
Children should be very wary of strangers that are in a car approaching them. We know that the vast majority of attempted abductions and successful abductions use a vehicle. We know that the perpetrators are using the same lures, like asking for directions, looking for a lost puppy, or having candy. And so parents need to be talking to their children about identifying these risky situations and knowing how to avoid them.
The brothers with a message to other children.
Just scream. We were very lucky and we're very grateful.
And authorities are still searching for the suspects in both of those cases. Police say there's no reason to think the two are related. And as for us parents, there's some things we need to keep in mind as we send our kids back to school. First, no names on backpacks. You don't want a stranger to be able to call your child's name and confuse them. And be careful how much information you're sharing about your kids on social media. Avoid posting those cute pictures with the boards sharing your child's age, school, and grade. They're cute, but they also give a lot of information.
We've been following Cook County Sheriff's Police behind closed doors. getting an inside look at how they track down and arrest suspected child predators. Last night, we showed you investigators wrapping up a months-long case and arresting a man accused of possessing and soliciting child pornography. Tonight, we sit down with Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart to better understand the scale of this exploding segment of crime.
This is not the old days of just a handful of people sharing some photographs they mail to each other.
Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart is exasperated.
This is something on the internet that has exponentially gone from about 3,000 photographs a year to about 50 million. It's everywhere, and that law enforcement is overwhelmed with it.
Dart has an entire team of investigators specifically assigned to catch people who sexually exploit children online. Since 2020, investigations by the Sheriff's Internet Crimes Against Children Unit have led to charges against 49 people for cases involving the victimization of children and child pornography.
What I care about right now is what's on your phone that shouldn't be on your phone.
Body cam video shows police questioning Vincent Salvaggio. Salvaggio was sentenced last summer to more than 10 years in prison for sharing and possessing child pornography.
Did I delete some?
In another arrest, Sheriff's Police questioned Jan Bautista, who they say admitted to using his cell phone to view, download, and share images and videos of children engaging in sexual acts.
What's the youngest that you think you saw on any of them? Under one.
Bautista was convicted but avoided prison time, instead sentenced to 30 months of sex offender probation. In 2023 alone, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, or NCMEC, says its cyber tip line received 36.2 million reports of suspected child sexual exploitation online. In 2021, NCMEC says it received 29.4 million reports. That's a 23% increase in just 2 years.
When we started this, I knew we were going to have some work, but I didn't know we were going to have this much work.
The vast majority of the reports to NCMEC come from electronic service providers, a broad classification ranging from social media and cloud-based storage to internet and cell service providers.
People like me and other folks sit there and say, listen, do you folks mind with all the billions of dollars you're making, maybe you give a little bit to try to deal with this horrific crime? And the answer is usually crickets.
NCMEC says U.S.-based ESPs are legally required to report child sexual abuse material when they become aware of it. However, there are no legal obligations for those companies to proactively monitor their platforms for this kind of content. More than a decade has passed since Congress enacted meaningful legislation to protect children on the internet. However, just this summer, 2 bills aimed at keeping kids safe online passed the Senate with overwhelming bipartisan support.
This is a historic moment. This is a moment when the Senate has said there have been horrible abuses. We must end them, and we will.
The House will come to order.
The bills now head to the House, where the earliest they'll be considered is September. The Kids Online Safety Act is endorsed by Snap, X, and Microsoft. However, free speech advocates, other tech companies, including Facebook's parent company Meta, and internet lobbying groups say these bills threaten free speech online. And while politicians and powerful executives spar in Washington, the Cook County Sheriff is going after suspected child predators one by one.
Will we catch everyone? No, of course not. Will we catch an individual who thinks they're going to be safe? Yeah, we will. We have. We will continue to do that.
There's a rise in spiritual battles, contending for the souls of your children. The enemy wants to destroy the innocent mind of your children. Fight back in the spirit, fully armored in prayer, edifying yourselves in God's word of truth. Death, chaos, destruction. This is what we're seeing in our times.
Let's go back to that breaking news out of Clifton, New Jersey. A police chase from Newark ended in a parking lot. John Del Giorno still live above the scene. Newscopter 7. John, what's going on now?
Michelle, we're getting some more information regarding this chase, which ended with 2 suspects in custody, but one is still on the loose here in Clifton. This pursuit began down in Newark. The suspects wanted in connection with a shooting in Newark. Police gave chase up Route 21 northbound and this vehicle exited Route 21 in Clifton, New Jersey. It was going through some side streets here, Kingsland Street, and finally went off the road and crashed through a fence here in a parking lot of a shopping center. You can see police are on the scene. It's tough to see, but down in the trees here is a vehicle from the Newark Police Department that wound up crashing into the fence as well. Again, we know that this all began in relation to a shooting in Newark. It started around 5:30 in the morning. It ended only about 10 minutes later. 2 suspects are in custody. A third is still being sought at this hour. We're told that 1 police officer is being treated for minor injuries here at the scene. And we're live over Clifton. John Del Giorno, Channel 7 Eyewitness
Really
News.
disturbing. A mother takes away her daughter's cell phone, and then her child comes up with a plan to kill her mother. Back in July, East Point police were called to the 24,000 block of Roxana.
We're there to investigate a home invasion and possibly an attempted murder.
But as the investigation unraveled, something sinister was revealed about a 14-year-old girl living on this street.
The minor daughter had met another minor on a social media app.
But the 14-year-old's time on social media was put in jeopardy. Her mother, who had no knowledge of the guy her child met on the app, decided to take away her daughter's phone as a form of punishment.
Because she was having a lot of issues at home and not following the rules.
So the teen and her new 17-year-old boyfriend came up with a solution.
They decided together that they were going to kill mom.
In the early morning hours of July 14th, the 14-year-old allegedly leaves the door to her home open so her boyfriend can enter.
He went into the mom's bedroom and began to attempt to suffocate her with a body pillow that was on the bed.
The mom screamed.
And then he started choking her.
But the woman's mother and grandmother to the 14-year-old intervened and told the 17-year-old to leave, which he did, but he left something behind.
His shoes were left behind, and we believe that maybe he took those off to be quieter.
A knife from the victim's house was also found in the street when the suspect fled. The mom was transported to the hospital but will survive her injuries. And after nearly 2 months of investigating, police took the 14 and 17-year-olds into custody. The mother of the 14-year-old told police her daughter is a problem child and has a record. Both have been charged as adults by the Macomb County Prosecutor's Office. The biggest evidence came from the 14-year-old.
From social media, from her social media account.
The 17-year-old facing a number of charges, including conspiracy to commit murder and the first degree. The 14-year-old also facing charges, including solicitation of murder.
The male received a $2.5 million bond. So I can't imagine that he's going anywhere, anytime soon. And the female was given a $1 million bond. So they're both being held.
The names of the teens not being released because of their ages. The investigation has shocked the police department.
I don't know that we've ever seen anything on this level from this age group.
And as this investigation continues, police want to make this clear. Everything you do on social media leaves a footprint.
Nothing is secret. I mean, everything is able to be recovered and found when you're using social media.
Time is running out. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. No man can come to the Father except through Christ. We don't know when our appointed time to leave this earth will be. Keep yourselves ready to see the Lord at all times. Put on the full armor of God daily and fight the good fight. Thank you so much for tuning in. Blessings to you and your families.